Says the presentation will start in 60 seconds.
Oh, I didn't realize there was a delay. Okay. It still says start in 60 seconds.
Yes. All right. Okay, you're on.
All right. Good morning. My name is Jason Bowman from Tax Marketing HQ, and we have a very special treat for you this morning. So I have asked one of my Platinum Inner Circle members, CPA Dan Henn, to present a webinar to everybody to discuss a pretty core element of what he's been doing to double his practice revenue each of the past 3 years. Dan's in multiple coaching programs. I know he's in Salim's coaching program. He's in my coaching program. He goes to tons of events. He's involved with other kind of quote unquote gurus that are outside of the tax and accounting universe. Dan immerses himself in the education component, very extensively. So, but the thing is that he takes action on what he learns. Okay, so not just absorbing the information and letting it sit on the shelf, but actually taking what he's learning and applying it. And a big part of this has been in the public relations and media arena. So Dan is going to share with you the steps that he has taken in his own accounting practice to really become a celebrity in some respects in his local market. So for the next hour, Dan is going to share this information with you. Thank you for being here, and please break out a pen and paper and take notes. This is going to be good stuff. And with that, I'm going to turn everything over to Dan. Dan, go ahead and you want to turn on your screen sharing, and I really appreciate you taking the time to do this.
Oh, no problem. Well, thank you, Jason. I'm looking forward to this presentation. Just want to get out there. I was just monitoring the chat room a little bit here, and it looks like everybody's getting on and hearing okay. There's a few people that I guess are having some technical difficulties, but we'll see if we can get this going. And for those of you, Jason is morning because he's on the West Coast, and I am here on the East Coast, so it's afternoon here. And so good afternoon. Looking forward to talk to you guys about the presentation we got here titled Stop Dreaming, Start Earning, Become the Celebrity Tax Flow in Your Local Market. We're going to talk about unlocking the 7 amazing methods of authority positioning for client attraction. And again, my name is Dan Henn, CPA. And so I am here to talk to you about today's learning objectives. So first, we're going to talk about what it means to be a celebrity tax professional, the media that you can use to create that celebrity expert status. We're also going to talk about how to think smarter and not harder. Again, I'm a tax professional like most of you guys out there, so time is always at a premium. And so it's always better when you can be more efficient and work smarter and not harder. What does it mean to repurpose your material and maximize your time? Again, we're talking about efficiencies and reusing materials that you're already creating. It gets you to thinking about outside the box and differentiate yourself from the competitors. Why would somebody choose you over somebody else that might be in your local market? And then we're also going to talk about how to put this all together in your practice to attract quality clients, okay? You can attract clients all day long, but you want those quality clients, the ones that appreciate the work that you do, that they think highly of you, that they're going to pay their bills, they're going to listen and do the things that you want. You want those quality clients, not about the person who complains about, $100 bill to, prepare a tax return. And so you want to get those better paying clients. And then, so let's talk about me a little bit, so you guys know, where I'm coming from. So we've got the life and times of Dan Henn CPA. Well, I'm a practitioner located in Florida. I'm on the East Coast, east of Orlando, in the area that's known as the Space Coast. And like many of you, I've been doing in the tax field, tax and accounting area for over 20 years. It's actually a little over 21 years. I opened my own practice 5 years ago. That's after working 16 years for other people. And, if you've done that and you've worked at other firms, I've worked all the way up to KPMG and worked my way down to a large local firm and everything in between. And sometimes it's just hard to deal with the politics. So I decided to go open my practice, and I knew how to network, and I did have a somewhat of an established network, but I didn't know about client attraction and marketing. How do you go and find these other people that don't network in your area, and trying to find those people. So I searched and found a marketing program created by Salim Almar, his CPA marketing genius, that led me to ultimately become an article writer in my local paper. Now, I have to say that it wasn't an instantaneous thing. I mean, it took me a few years of trying to beat this into my head. I like you guys, bought things, read certain things, but never really did anything with it. And we're going to talk about how to overcome some of that struggles today. So then I became a book author after writing my local paper article, and I'll talk about more of that in detail later. But then I became a book author using Salim's assistance. And so my book is going to be something that's going to become, or is part of my shock and awe package. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later. Now, Salim has an annual conference. He gives it a nice snazzy name every year. I attended his conference a year ago in Chicago, saw a speaker named Mark Imperial that talked about a radio show that he had in Chicago. Actually, he's got 3 radio shows. And when I got home, I was just excited about that. I actually called my local talk radio show, and within 60 days, I was on the show, or on the radio. And I'll talk a little bit about that as well. And then during this process, my revenue's doubled, and I have attracted new clients in ways I never thought possible, not always having to worry about referrals from existing clients or other professional sources. And then finally, I'm going to show you how I became that tax celebrity in my market here in the Florida Space Coast. Now, I'm going to talk about some various different client attraction methods. These are some of the options that are available. And of course, this list is not going to be all inclusive. You'd be surprised. I've only listed probably about a third of the various methods that are out there. But the first one, the first group here, I've got 27 different items available. And you see are highlighted in blue and bold are 7 different areas of which we'll talk about today. First being book authorship. We'll talk about newspaper, magazines, and then trade journals. Blogs. We'll talk about radio. I'll talk about audio visual or audio video and how to use that. Talk about speaking engagements, and then networking. Now, so let's start with talking about why should you be a book author. Being a book author is something that is actually very powerful. So let me give you a few reasons. First one, let's talk about this. Why do you read a nonfiction business book? Well, you read it to get an education and learn some things. If you actually learn some things from that book, you look for other books by that author. But why do you do that? Well, generally you perceive them to be the expert in that subject matter, right? So that's why you go to look for more books. And then if you don't see any more books by that author, then you're looking at typically more books by other authors on that subject matter. Now, because this person is the author, it builds credibility for them, which with that credibility, it means that that your prospects, if you were the book author, are more likely to trust you just by having that credibility. And it's amazing how powerful that is. There are some things that we'll talk about that just because you're doing them makes it really, people will start to look at you, possibly putting you on the pedestal. Now, a book can become your ticket to being on TV or radio. Many book authors pay to be on TV news shows or radio. But again, it's something else that helps build your credibility. I'm sure many of you guys watch shows like the Today Show or other Good Morning America or something of that nature, and they get people on there all the time touting their new book. That happens to be something that, especially when it's something kind of different. A book can be kind of like a new business card for you. A little bit more of an expensive variety, but it's definitely a business card that you can hand out at certain functions to certain people. And then once your book is written, then you can reuse a lot of that material in various other media platforms. And probably one of the biggest reasons, it helps differentiate you from your competitors. Do they have a book? My guess is probably not. I know here in my market, I'm only aware of one other partner, a partner at a larger local firm, one that I used to work for. He wrote a book, but I don't believe, even surprisingly, it was that very technical kind of a book. So let's talk about book authorship a little more detail. So who would you go to if you were looking for a product or services? Chances are you're going to go to the person who wrote the book. Hence the phrase that, that many times you hear that. So there are many ways that you could go about writing a book. Okay, there's self-writing, there's ghostwriting, and there's licensing. Licensing is the easiest one to talk about, but it's actually the most costly method. Licensing is actually taking somebody else's book and putting your name, your picture, and everything about you in the book, and then there's certain pages of the book that are rewritten that are specific to you, and then you now can tout that book as your own. Now, ghostwriting is the next little more complicated one, a little bit more time consuming than licensing, but ghostwriting, you're going to use a service such as outsourcing services like Elance, Fiverr.com, Upwork, which is also formerly known as Odesk, and then a few others that are listed there. And you're going to hire people. A lot of them are generally former journalists or even current journalists that are looking for other revenue. And you do an interview with them, talk with them, and they will help you determine how the book should go. And they pretty much write the book for you. Okay, and there's a lot of big name authors, big name people that books are ghostwritten from, and you'll see a lot of times you'll see two names on a book, and one of them might be a big name, and typically the big name is the one that's really kind of tagging along. It's the other name is usually the person who wrote it or was involved in writing that book. Okay, now other things, or self-writing is the last piece. Now, obviously, that's most time-consuming, and we'll talk about this a little bit further here. But self-writing is just you writing your book. The thing that you want to do is make sure that you're writing your book and you're getting it done in a quick amount of time. Typically, you want to spend no more than 90 days to possibly 6 months. Jason Bowman actually wrote a book. I think he said he was snowed in and wrote it in a weekend, right, Jason? So moving along, now you can use other services, transcription services for video or audio, such as SpeechPad or Rev.com. And when you use a service like rev.com, you can actually submit an audio and they will turn it into a transcription. There's other services and software, like there's a company near us here in East Central Florida called Nuance Communications, and they make a program called Dragon. Dragon software, it's available for Word, it's Windows as well as Mac. And they say the average person speaks 100 words a minute, and that the average book is 50,000 words. So if you were to constantly talk for a little over 8 hours, you would have a book. Now, the key is, and we'll talk about a little bit more, is getting there and doing it. So key is going to be implementation. So for a book, you're going to write in general or a specific niche, and this is the most recommended way. This is something you know a lot about, or in which you consider yourself the expert, or hopefully other people will also consider you the expert. Now, your book can be a giveaway at public events if you're a member at a chamber, or you're involved with nonprofits, and you can give it as a silent auction, maybe along with a free tax return that has a certain value. And people that usually attend these events are well-to-do in your area, and they're more than likely to see your book and give you get that attention. Okay, or you can do promote it on a radio show. Now, the book is just an opportunity that you get prospects to sign up to get one for free, and in the process there, you're getting them to sign up for free for that, and then you're going to have them come in for a strategy session, and then you're going to be able to hopefully sell them. Now, your book also becomes an item for your shock and awe package. Now, in general, a shock and awe package, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but a shock and awe package is basically, you've got that top prospect you're looking at, and you know the owner or the president of the company. You put a box together that includes your book, a newsletter, some audio CDs, DVDs, some other information, and maybe even some tchotchke type things that has your company logo or firm logo on it. And you're going to send that to them along with a handwritten note or maybe some other sales material to try and wow them. Jason has called it a wow box before. Okay, now, next topic. Why would I say to consider writing for newspapers, magazines, or trade journals? So consider what your niche is. What do they read? As a tax or accounting professional, what tax or accounting journals or magazines do you subscribe to? So, if you look at it from your perspective there, you occasionally see articles from companies that are trying to sell it to you, right? But they're educating you. For example, a payroll company wants, say, us to use their services. They will write an article telling you the pitfalls of doing payroll, or why you should send your clients to them, or even use their platforms for processing payroll. And so they're writing an article and they're getting that promotion there. And again, you're going to look at them as being the expert. So why can't you be that person? So if you write an article for a newspaper or magazine, again, you are perceived as the expert. If someone who reads your article has questions or is looking for the services you provide, they're more likely to contact you. So now we can talk about this, and again, here, not to mention that you're doing the editors of the publication you're working with a favor by filling a hole on their pages. Now, my article is something that I got because, not because I pursued it. It's actually, I had another CPA that I associate with here locally in our local CPA chapter. He had the article for about 6 months, and he called me up and said, "Hey, I can't come up with topics and questions to write this article." And he said, do you want to do it? And I said, sure. I didn't even think twice about it. I just said, I'll take it. Put me in contact with the person at our local paper here, the Florida Today, and I started writing that article, and that's been a little over 3 years now. So I've been writing that article, and I've come up with topics, and I've taken my time, and we'll talk a little bit about this here as well. Now, first, the thing you would do is contact your local paper business editor of the business section. Typically, that's where you're going to want to be, the business section or some section that if your paper isn't big enough to have a business section, that another section that is analogous to what it is that you do or what you're writing about. Okay, and look and see if they're looking for columnists. Now, your article should contain info and or questions that you're being asked by your existing clients. That's one way that you could go looking for the topics. What are the most common things that people are asking you? Start there. Then you can also ask other people for that. Now, focus your articles, if possible, on your area of expertise or toward niches in which you are directing your marketing efforts. For me, my specific niches, I specifically deal with tax resolution. Thanks again to Jason for that. And really work on that, as well as I cater toward the real estate market, agents, brokers, investors, property managers. And so I write a lot of my articles toward that specific niche. Now, let me just tell you a little story here. Last year, my wife and I celebrated 20 years of marriage. And it just so happened that around the same time, my oldest daughter graduated from high school. So we decided that we'll splurge a little, and we took a 2-week vacation to Europe. Now, when I was on this trip early on, I had forgotten that my article was due, and I've got an email. I was checking my emails at night when I was in the hotel room, and I seen my article was due. And so I sat down, I banged out a tax resolution article, which typically my average article takes me an hour, maybe an hour and a half to the most. And that includes some of the research that I do in regards to it. And I wrote the article, sent it off. It was printed I think it was that Friday when I was there. It's changed days since I've been writing it. And by the time I got back, I had an appointment on my calendar for an elderly gentleman who had seen my article, received a notice, hadn't filed a return in 20 years. And he had a few basic returns. I probably still undercharged him, and I charged him $1,500 there for doing the work that I did. I had like 3 returns and spent maybe about 4 or 5 hours between me and the staff person that prepared the returns. And so it took me an hour and a half of writing that article, and ended up having that. And there's even actually a lot more value there, because now I have an article that I can reuse. Repurpose is the word that I used early on. I can use that article in many other ways in marketing or other materials. Now, another way that you can do this is look at getting quoted. There's a site called helpareporter.com, also known as HARO. You can go there. They let you pick a few different topics that you want to be aware of, and it sends you an email. The only drawback to it is it sends you 3 emails a day, morning, afternoon, and evening, and it lists all the people who are looking for assistance in writing an article, writing a book, something for a website. They're trying to do research. You want to try to respond to the things that you know that you can answer and feel comfortable in dealing with. And again, it's another way to go out there and get quoted, and something that you can tout that, hey, you were quoted in this book, and something else that you can just say, hey, and put it in your signature line. For me, I write a book, I write a newspaper article, I'm heard on the radio. So those are the things that you want to do. Okay. Next topic, a blog. Why have a blog? Well, blog posts are generally short articles, okay, depending on the writer and how well you write, or how wordy you can be. They can be 200 to 300 words, or as many as 2,000 words. Some people will find you by your website, and you need to have information to keep them there. So these blog posts, if you're posting on a regular basis, will be things that obviously will be there for people to read or attract them to your website, especially if they're looking for a specific topic. In addition, a blog can make your website more visible by the likes of our friends at Google. So let's talk a little bit more in detail. Well, a blog, you should do this on a somewhat regular posting basis, as I previously said, minimum monthly, optimum weekly, and if you can, even if a intermedium there bi-weekly. So if you do something every 2 weeks, but the key here is that this is something else that's going to help you with your SEO ranking on Google with your website. Writing the article, having the information get out there, have it being searchable if somebody were looking for a particular topic. That's what's going to get you the celebrity status. And obviously, by posting regularly, Google likes that. When you have new material, you're posting on a regular basis, it ranks your website higher, and or at least one of the factors that Google uses. And so the chances of you being higher on the page when people are looking specifically in your area for a tax professional, or if you're a CPA, EA attorney, however it is that you're doing. Now, it can be used for a posting and or linking to Facebook or Twitter, and then LinkedIn, you're just going to copy your article, your blog post, and you're going to post it into a LinkedIn post. So those are going to be other ways that you're getting that information out to people. I had a neat thing that happened to me. I posted a blog post. I put the link on my Facebook, and when I did that on Facebook, somebody else said that somebody else that likes my page, they retweet or shared it on Facebook with other people, and so now there's more people that are hearing about my article. Now, you can write on a topic that is pertinent to what you do, but tell stories when you write. Just like when you talk, and I've told you some stories as we go, it makes it interesting, makes it entertaining. Think about what makes you read an article. When you hear a sometimes happy story, a sad story, those types of things kind of keep you engaged in regards to that. Also, write in a speaking tone, and this goes no matter what you're writing, whether it's for your blog, whether it's a newspaper article, or anything of that nature. And again, it's something that keeps the attention of the reader. Now, keep in mind that along the words of, again, repurpose, a compilation of blog posts can become a book. It can become a special report. It can be just about anything, things that you can use. Now, keep in mind, too, if you've already written a book, then your book can also become a blog post. You just take and cut and paste little things out of there. And remember that we talked earlier about the objectives, that we're going to learn about smarter, not harder. Well, repurpose is the word. So if you've written something, find another use for it. If you've written, I've had my articles become blog posts, and I've had my blog posts or other ancillary materials that I use for handouts or booklets, and they've become blog posts or my article. Okay, now let's talk about radio. Radio is one of the things I kind of feel a little bit more passionate about. One of these days, I'm going to look into the TV aspect of things, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a minute. But radio is actually your opportunity to actually be heard. You get to give your comments on a particular subject and be seen by the expert. Again, when you hear people on the radio, it gives you that opportunity to be known as the expert. And again, it gives you the opportunity to reuse the recordings for other purposes, such as putting on your website. Okay, and again, repurposing. I'm going to continue to keep harping on that throughout this presentation. So how do you find a station, AM or FM? And I chose AM to be on talk radio. It gives me the opportunity to be on there longer, and as opposed to FM, which is usually more music, and unless they're specifically an FM talk radio station, and usually to be on there, it requires more advertising, which again makes it more costly. And you also get a little less airtime if it's even an option, but it's still something that you can use to your advantage. So you can look at being a guest on somebody's show. Now, usually there's a fee involved, and when I first started, I'm paying $125 once a month to be on somebody else's radio show. I'm on the Lily McDermott show here on 1060 AM WMEL. They're also available through Ustream as an app or site that you can listen to it. I'm on the first Monday of the month, so it's really neat to be able to do that. Somebody actually recently told me about in their market in San Antonio, there happens to be a local orthopedic surgeon that calls in to a sports radio show, and in about 10 or 15 minutes, he talks about sports-related injuries, and he talks about specifically what the injury is, how to treat it, and how long it usually takes to recover from it. So, that's pretty neat. That you can't buy that type of exposure. Now, when you're doing radio, you get to provide the interviewer with the questions you ask. So Salim Omar had asked me to write an article specifically on radio for his newsletter to the CPA marketing people that he sends it to. So I wrote in that article, and I basically used an analogy that when you're writing these questions for the interviewer, you're picking the topic, you're writing the questions. I said it's similar to if you were playing in the World Series, you're up to bat, bottom of the ninth, 2 outs, bases loaded. Instead of pitching you a fastball, they toss you a big fat softball that you just jack over the fence and win the game. Because the neat thing about this is what the questions are, the answers to all the questions. So you're not going to get stumped. You're not going to look stupid in regards to answering these questions. Now, if you do a Q&A call where you're accepting questions kind of on the fly answering, that's where you can kind of get tripped up. So if you do that, I would recommend not doing it that often. I've done it once now in the course of a year. You can also consider doing your own show. Again, there's usually a fee involved. You're paying for that time slot, and there's a necessary time commitment. So if you're doing it, say, once a week, you've got to be there every week. Now, there are alternatives. You can always replay a show if you have to be on vacation or do something of that nature. But, there's a little bit more time commitment and something that you're doing on a regular basis. And it's actually something that I'm exploring and looking into at some point in time. You can do a Q&A call with a popular DJ. So near tax deadline, that's when they're usually looking for people. They give you, you might be on the whole morning show. They have people call in. And again, this one is a little difficult one because, again, you don't necessarily know the questions that are coming at you. And sometimes there can be curveballs in there. But for the most part, you probably should be able to get most of them. And again, repurposing material here can be repurposed for your shock and awe package and a website. You can put your radio broadcast. You can put the whole link on your website. Make sure that you have the rights to be able to do that when you talk to the radio station. And you can cut it up in little bits and pieces, say 5 or 10 minutes clips, things that you can use as your shock and awe package, or just mail directly to a prospect. If they've called your office, you have a specific, like if I had a specific real estate talk that I did, I could do that. And then I could send that CD to them just specifically for that. Now, side note is in regards to TV. I don't have any personal experience with this media. There are people out there that talk about specializing in doing this and getting you on CBS, ABC, NBC, CNN, MSNBC, and all of those forms of, and you can add this to all the forms of media that I'm talking about today. But the comments related to radio and a lot of these things, they can really apply toward TV. It's not just an avenue I explored as well. TV is, again, more costly to be involved. And when you look at those, if you will call them talking heads on CNN, many of those people pay there, and they usually pay a pretty good sum. I believe I heard somewhere about $1,500 to $3,500, and you're talking about a 30 to 90 second time frame of actually being on the air. But again, that's one of those things that you're going to hear and be able to tout that you were on those shows. Let's talk about audio and video in your marketing, and how does that create celebrity status. So I think most of you agree that we live in an instant gratification society with short attention spans, especially for the younger generations, the so-called millennials there. If you do audio or video clips of 10 minutes or less, then that helps you get your message out. Now, it's always recommended to keep them not too long or too technical for that matter. Put them in layman's terms. 5 minutes is the recommended. And you know, of course, if you did something a little crazy, like giving your talk while you're bungee jumping or mountain climbing, or very cute, like including a kitten or a talking baby, you're more likely to get that video to go viral and possibly be in the news, make it on the Today Show or something of that nature. But that's not necessarily really what you're going for. You want to create a YouTube channel, post these videos, and it helps with adding to your credibility. You know, you could even consider creating your own podcast. They don't have to be long. Remember, short attention spans. Podcasts, many of them out there are anywhere from 5 minutes to an hour. They're good for long time drives, the drive to work, and that kind of thing to, you know, help people tune into you. So let's talk a little bit more in detail here. So you're gonna post to YouTube. You're gonna create your own channel to subscribe to, create a business channel, and you're gonna post these audio and videos to your website. You're gonna have them available on CD or DVD that you can mail, include as part of your shock and awe package. You're gonna post them to your website as well. You're gonna point your clients to them. Say somebody comes in or they made an appointment to talk to you about they're right now set up as a sole proprietor and they want to talk about S corporations, for example. Then yes, then I would say that's what you want to do. You're looking at you would sit there and talk with them, and you would talk to them, and you probably, if you're like me, you know, over the course of a 6-month period, you probably had that talk about 100 times. So why not record it, send them to that video, and say, watch this video before you come in, and now you can kind of start a little bit and make the conversation a little bit faster, because now you can go back and review that information and not have to necessarily go in depth. Okay, again, you're going to repurpose your audio or video to a text with a transcription software or service. Again, like talked about Rev.com, or I've talked about the Nuance Communications, their Dragon software. In fact, they've just come out with a new version of it that's available. And you're going to create these 5 to 10 minute clips that, again, you can put in a CD or a DVD, and it's going to be something that you're going to put in a shock and awe package. In fact, there was a gentleman that, for those of you that are familiar with Dan Kennedy, that Dan Kennedy has a contest at the Marketer of the Year, and this guy who won, I think it was back in 2012, he actually had a metallic briefcase that he sent that had a video screen in it, so that when you opened up the case, it automatically played, and it played a 5 to 7 minute video. He had a New Orleans king cake in there, along with a contract for $35,000. And you know, at the time I saw this video, he had done it 12 times and gotten them all back. He sends us prepaid postage paid return shipping, and he got them all back with signed contracts. So who wouldn't want to do something like that? Now let's talk about speaking engagements. Now I'm sure this is an area that probably makes some people nervous. Used to being, I was the same way. But now when you're in the front of the room, and look again, if you're the person in the audience and you're seeing the person in the front of the room, you're there to hear them speak. And because you're looking at them as the expert. So why not use that and take that to your advantage? Of course, again, the attention is all on you, which I'm sure scares the stuffing out of you. But if you can be even a halfway decent speaker, then you tell stories and you do things correctly, people will listen. It also gives you the opportunity to promote other things that you're doing. So if you've got a book and you're speaking, say you talk about your book. Now, you're typically not going to make a lot of money selling a book. The main purpose of that is that it's your calling card. It's that establishing the credibility, expert status, and again, attracting those quality clients. So So you're going to use this for promoting your book, a blog, your radio show, a newspaper article, whatever it is that you may have. Now, again, for example, if my niche is real estate brokers, real estate agents, and investors. So if that were your niche, you're going to talk to realtor groups, such as many of the brokerages around here. They have one day a week that they educate their brokers. And I've been invited to come and speak. I bring breakfast and, have some handouts, and I've got my book available. I can usually give it as a giveaway, and people look and attract for free things, especially. You could talk to real estate investment groups or local realtor associations, or even find about speaking at realtor conferences. Now, you're going to also look to trade organizations that might cater to your niche. So if doctors or dentists might be, you're going to look at local, state, national associations and be involved with them. You could also even look at, say, client investor groups. You're going to search online. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of meetup.com groups. You can go to meetup.com groups. These are specialized things. So if you were interested in Toastmasters, I know Toastmasters uses meetup.com to promote some of their events. If you're shy in public speaking, that's a great way to do it. But again, you're giving it the opportunity to meet up with people, and you could even look at hosting your own meetup group that you can invite people to and encourage people to come. You could also look at social and community groups such as Rotary or Kiwanis, Lions, Moose, and talk to them. Check for opportunities in your local chamber, what kind of speaking you can do and the opportunities they have there. Or you could even look at speaking at your local career center. That's another good way to potentially look at new businesses if you're people that are looking to start a new business. So let's talk about networking. Networking is really kind of how I started and got most of my early clients on. You get to establish or build personal relationships with clients, with prospects, and people in your professional network. So for example, for many of the people that are tax and accounting professionals, you're going to look to attorneys, maybe estate planning, business attorneys. You're going to look at financial advisors, payroll companies, bookkeepers, and that's probably where you're getting many referrals, and some of you probably do this very well. The nice thing about networking is you get to have others that are selling your services to their clients and customers that are in need of your services. So you're not having to necessarily doing the selling, and when a trusted professional is bringing you a client or customer, chances are more than likely they're pre-sold, and they would be your client unless you just fell on your face and blew up there. And now in networking, you also get to be the hero to your clients and provide referrals to the trusted people that you deal with that can deal with their issues, or even for that matter, pain. If you have a client that their hard drive crashed, and a good computer guy, they're your client or in your networking circle, you can refer them. Client has a flood or a plumbing problem, you can refer them to remedial services or to a plumber. So you want to look at doing that type of work. Now, networking, you can network in referral groups such as LATIP, BNI, or Chambers Leads Club. I'm in a BNI group. Stands for Business Network International. It's a national group, and the group that I'm in is 44 people, soon to be 45, and that means if it's 45 people, I've got 44 other people that are looking at selling me, and I'm the only CPA or tax professional that can be in that group. And so I meet with one-to-one on these people, and I tell them what I'm looking for specifically, and they're looking for referrals, not leads. Leads tend to have more of a connotation that they're cold. Referrals are warm. Okay. Don't forget to network within your professional organizations. So not all CPAs or EAs or even attorneys, for that matter, practice in tax resolution work where I advertise and market to. So if I meet with other CPAs and EAs, in fact, I had that happen once with a former coworker, and I happened to say, oh, by the way, and she says, geez, I wish I'd have known that. She had one that was having a major problem, but they had already dealt with it and had the issue finally got resolved. And don't forget to network in your special interest or industry groups. Here we have the Space Club. You have your local doctors and dentist chapters, service clubs such as Rotary and Kiwanis. And again, you can meet people, and in a lot of these things, you can start meeting some influential people. Okay, and don't forget networking in nonprofit boards. If you can get on some high-profile nonprofit boards, then you can start working with those people and hopefully get to have referrals from them as well, and get to be known as the expert status in that regard. Now, let's give a little quick recap. So for the past 45 minutes, I've been showing you various items that will create authority positioning by why should you become a book author, tips for writing a newspaper or magazine article, how to best utilize a blog and its need and purpose, how to get on the radio and use the sound of your voice to create that a celebrity status. We've talked about the benefits of speaking engagements, and lastly, but surely not leastly, how to tap into your professional networks. But unfortunately, we've just barely scratched the surface. The difficulty we have here is that I know people are going to have questions on specific elements, items that we will address at the end of the webinar. If you have questions, if Jason hasn't already responded to your question, we'll have an opportunity in a few minutes to have questions. We've also given you some references that you can go and explore at a later point in time. But we don't have the time to go into the nitty-gritty on each of these topics. And I've got a ton more information to be able to share with you guys. But a 1-hour webinar just isn't going to be able to do that. So now I'd like to invite you to take a look at some additional in-depth training on several of these topics that I put together, a special toolkit for you to take your practice to the next level. So if I showed you a way to develop celebrity status in your market to attract quality clients, would you like to hear that now? So if you would, start typing chat yes in the chat bar so that I can see that some of you guys are really interested in looking at this. So now what I've got for you, and presenting for the first time, the Complete Celebrity Tax Pro Practice Growth Toolkit. Now, this kit is going to be designed, or is designed, to help you replicate the success that I've had in my practice. And I have the desire to help practitioners succeed by growing their practices, just as I've helped my tax clients grow their businesses. I am a coach in Salim Omar's program, and I've been working with other practitioners and helping them using the other things that I've used in my practice. And I'm really excited to share some of this stuff with you. So now it's your turn to try and take your practice to the next level. So first, I would like to introduce to you the Destroyer Toolkit. Now, I've got sort of a Navy theme here. My dad used to serve in the Navy, and when it comes to the Army-Navy game, I'm the Navy guy. And so what we have to offer here for this toolkit is, for the next 3 weeks, we're going to have 3 separate weekly 1-hour webinars that will give you more detail. We'll go for a whole hour and talk about some of the topics that I've talked about here. And the key word there is we're going to work on trying to help you implement these methods in your practice. Now, to the topics that we're going to cover will be book authorship. That will be the first week. We're going to do that next Wednesday, the 26th at 1 p.m. And we're going to talk about radio in the second week. And then we're going to talk about newspaper, magazines, and trade journals. And we're going to talk about that more specifically. So what we're looking for here is, in the first week, we're going to call this the Celebrity Creation Webinar. And so on the first one, again, forgot to change the slide a little bit on there, but actually that's Wednesday, August the 26th at 1 p.m. We're going to have the first webinar, again, talking about book authorship. We're going to talk about why you need a book again. Where will you find the time to write a book? Because I know that's a big concern. How to even get started, how to even pick a topic and do that, how to use it in your practice, how to best use it and use it in other marketing materials, and how to stay on track to get your book completed. Because many of you and myself have been included in that if you once you got a project started, sometimes it's hard to get it finished. So we've got some things here that we're going to talk about. We're going to get involved with this so that you can become another book author as well. Now, second week, again, we've moved these to Wednesday, so it's going to be Wednesday, September the 2nd at 1 p.m. So the second webinar is going to cover radio. We're going to talk about why you should get on the radio. Where do you even start with that? How to brainstorm a topic, because that's going to be a lot of time where you're spending mental hours just trying to brainstorm a topic. And trust me, been there, done that. Again, how did I tell you I got my article? It was because the guy couldn't brainstorm enough articles. We're going to talk to you about how to get the best results using your radio show. Now, the third week, again, this is going to be Wednesday, September the 9th. I ended up changing the days and forgot to change the slides, so sorry about that. So this webinar will cover in detail newspaper and how to write a newspaper article. So why should you be in the newspaper? How to get your name in print. How to brainstorm topics for your articles, because again, that's going to be a very big sticking point. And how to do the research for that topic. And then finally, how to achieve the best results for your efforts. Because again, we want to make sure that again you're working smarter, not harder. That you're repurposing. That you've got things that if you're creating it once and it's got multiple uses in a lot of the materials that you have. Sometimes it takes a little tweaks, but tweaks are easier than having to write it the first time. Okay, so that's the webinar series. Now, I know some of you are thinking, is that all? Well, you're right, it's not it. But wait, there's more. Here's the first bonus. We're going to have a 60-minute group jumpstart conference with me, Dan the Man. We're going to discuss the typical tax and accounting practice, give ideas of what celebrity creating items you can get started with, how these items can be best implemented quickly in your practice. This call is going to be or is scheduled for next Monday, August the 24th at 1 p.m. And we're looking at just trying to hit the ground running for you guys to get this process started. But that's not it. I've got a second bonus for you. This is going to be one of the key things here. I've got a booklet of the top 50 different tax and accounting topics to write or talk about in a book, a blog, a newspaper article, speaking engagements, or even on the radio. Again, the way that I got the article that I write for the newspaper was because the guy who wrote it for 6 months, so he only wrote 6 articles, couldn't come up with new topics. And I'm giving you 50 different topics to help jumpstart you. And once you get that creative juices flowing and seeing these topics, there are probably many offshoots, and I've tried to give you as many as I could, that will help you thinking about that. Think about what the niches are. Think about what your clients are concerned about. But I've given you a big head start. So this is hopefully to help you brainstorm ideas and avoid that writer's block. And I've been there a little bit myself. So now that we've got this together and things I've used in my practice, I want to help you take your article writing to the next level. But of course, that's not it. What else we've got? We've got a third bonus for you. So we're going to have a sample press release to a newspaper editor or radio station manager. Heather Baca is an enrolled agent in my office. She just got to pass the exam, became an enrolled agent, so she could help me in the tax resolution area. And I work with a marketing guy that that did a press release to announce her promotion of getting or designation of the enrolled agent. And she so we put that in the paper. I paid $195. I later found through other sources I could have gone to a site like Fiverr.com, which is 5 with 2 R's.com, and I could have gotten and probably had a press release done for as little as $5 to $20. So again, we're giving you one of those so that you can use that and help jumpstart. So this will help you establish the contact with the avenue of media, again, with the newspaper or the radio that you're looking for, to help start your celebrity exposure. So with the Destroyer package, how much would you be willing to invest in yourself to increase the practice, to increase the growth of your practice? Well, Jason Bowman, my friend, sells a lot of different products. He told me he would charge $3,000 for a package like this, and that's just not me. That's and I've looked at other similar packages, and they're offered for $1,500. Normally I would sell this package for $497 for this special toolkit, which is, by the way, the regular value of this package. And actually what we've included is actually more. The webinars are worth at least $300 in and of themselves. The Jumpstart call, you'd pay $100 just to be on that. The topics, the 50 topics booklet, your billable hourly rate. Let's just say if it was $150 an hour and it takes you over the course of a year 2 hours to come up with just topics on what to write about. That's 2 hours. That's $300 you just spent. And then the press release, like I said, I paid $195 to get a press release. So you can see that the value of this package here. But what I've got for you, and today only, we've got this special deal. Now, because somebody remarkable like Jason Bowman, Nate Haggerty, or Chauncey Hutter invited you here, and because they were so nice and kind to promote my webinar here to you guys, we've got the special introductory price here of $297. Again, the webinars alone are worth that. So right now, you should be seeing hopefully a link coming up soon with that offer. And if not, then what I want you to do is you can go to celebritytaxpro.com to sign up now. So today and today only is $297. After today, that price is going to go to $497. So take advantage of my kindness that I have for this. Okay? But don't go anywhere yet. That's not it. We're not done. So don't change that dial. And for those of you that struggle to implement things in your practice, which is the biggest struggle that many people have, and like I said, I've been there, done that, and I finally, finally got in gear to implement things in my practice. So I have a special offer for you guys to help you do that. So pay attention to this. Now, what I've got for you here is the Battleship Toolkit. Now, for those of you that don't know anything about Navy ships, the Destroyer is a smaller ship, but the Battleship is a much bigger ship. So you can expect more things and more value in this. So with the Battleship Toolkit, you'll get all of the items that we just listed in the Destroyer Toolkit. You'll get the webinars. You'll get all 3 of the special bonuses. And what you'll get here is, plus, we've got 2 VIP only 60-minute group Q&A calls with me. And we're going to start those in a couple of weeks. And we'll get a couple of webinars under our belt. We're going to get the jump start and then get those creative juices flowing so that you guys can have questions. Then you'll have 1 30-minute interview coaching call with me to help match your niches with the right media and help you with the topic selections to write or talk about. Get you going in the right direction so you're not spinning your wheels and wasting your time. Okay? So from there, you're going to get these additional amazing items. I've got a checklist on how to get you started with a radio station, and how to come up with topics, how to create those questions. So I've got a list, a checklist that's going to help you and give you that roadmap to try and get that started. I'm going to give you a checklist on how to get started with your local newspaper, to be a regular columnist, what to write about, specifics to ask them before you start, you know, the elements of an article, and make sure the other questions that you need to make sure that you're aware of. things that people that, especially me, that didn't know about these particular things and how things work in the newspaper. And I can tell you in 3 years, I've learned a lot about that industry. And then additionally, I've got a checklist of items you can include in your shock and awe package or box, plus how it's organized and who you should send it to. Okay, so that's going to be very key because, again, we've talked about, one of the objectives we talked about here is how you're going to differentiate yourself. A shock and awe package of all these items that we've talked about that's going to create your celebrity status is something that you need to know and that your competition isn't doing. Okay, but of course, but wait, there's more. What I'm going to give you is you're going to have 2 certificates that you can redeem toward a review or critique of an article, blog post, radio show questions, speaking engagement slides, questions that you just have so that to keep you right on track. Okay, so you write that article, you're unsure, you're a sole practitioner, you don't have anybody to review your article, then send it to me and I will review it, give you my comments, and give you some ideas on how to do it, maybe even some future ideas that you can take and do spin-offs in regard to that. Okay, now I've got a few bonuses that I've got some creative names here. I've got the Stunning Captain bonus, Captain of the Ship, right? So we're talking about a Navy theme. So here's what I've got for you. I'm going to give you a printed and bound copy of all of my articles over the last 3+ years. We're calling it Dan the Taxman's Article Archive. So I'm going to give you a printed copy, bound, so that you can review that, see my writing style, and see how things are put together. Again, look at the elements of the article, how to organize it, and then we'll see how that works. Now, of course, I've got more bonuses. Here's the Amazing Executive Officer, also known as XO. XO is the second in command of a Navy ship. So this bonus is I'm going to give you a checklist of audio and video tips, things that I wish I had. This will be a list of tips to help you when you're recording your audio and video. Some key things that when you're putting that all together, whether you really need to buy expensive equipment and do things like that. You're going to give you topics to use for audio or video. Because again, some of them are going to be similar to other topics for other things you write, and some of them are going to be different. Because if you're using audio or video, things can be said a little bit more eloquently, and you can get a lot more in say 5 minutes of a video or audio clip than writing a complete article. I'm going to give you. It's going to have how to create a script to follow, and then services that you can use online or other software that you can purchase or subscribe to edit your audio or video. And I'll even give you some suggestions if you're not the hands-on type creative person, that you can hire other people to do that, which is obviously the recommendation. So, of course, there's always more. Plus, we've got the final item in this arsenal to this toolkit called the Remarkable Admiral bonus. Now, this bonus is that we're going to give you one additional 20-minute one-to-one call with me, and we're going to do this after 30 days to check your progress, help you continue the headway you've made, and make any necessary tweaks. So this is really the accountability aspect of things. Some of you work well when you've got somebody that's kind of, if you will, looking on your shoulder, somebody that you don't want to fail. I know I've been like that myself. When you've got that student-teacher or parent-child relationship, when you're the child and you've disappointed your parent and they give you that look, I'm going to give you that look in a 20-minute call after 30 days if you've not made progress on things in regards to this. But this bonus is only going to be good for the first 12 people who enroll today. Okay, so this is a very limited offer. I can only do 12 people for this call, and would love to have the 12 people on this call. So again, looking at the Battleship Toolkit, how much would you be willing to invest again in yourself, in your practice, to implement these special tools to your marketing kit, create a powerful shock and awe package that will help you increase the number of clients, quality clients. Again, quality is the word that we're looking at and is operative there in your practice. Okay, again, my mentor, Jason Bowman, said he would charge $6,000 for a package like this. And that just seems way too much for me. You know, when you look at all the extra bonuses that I have offer, you know, the coaching that I'm giving you, I've seen other similar coaching programs. I've been involved with some of them that they don't even offer the implementation help that I'm offering. And they sell for $3,500 or more. Okay, but again, and for today only, and this is actually against Jason's advice, he suggested $1,997. $1,997, that's still too much. But you know, after today, I said I'm going to sell this toolkit for $1,497, but I'm going to give you, and I'm offering this special introductory offer of this package at $997. So don't let this ship sail without you. Okay, let us help you take your practice to the next level. Enroll in the Destroyer or the Battleship Toolkit. Again, the Battleship Toolkit is designed to help you have more implementation and actually do something here. Many people buy a product, and I don't want you just buying a product to buy the product. Buy the product because you're going to do something with it. Okay, I want people that are going to be engaged. And again, go to celebritytaxpro.com, or when you see it in the chat bar, the pop-up that's going to offer a link to that site, you can go in and purchase the Battleship Toolkit. Okay, so click the Act Now button, and this will help you, and we're going to take you to the next level. Okay, now, just like everybody else offers, I've got a 30-day amazing elite celebrity money-making money-back guarantee. You know, it's 100% risk-free, unconditional money-back guarantee. You know, I want to help to remove all the risk to you. So you have 30 days to try this system out. Come to the webinars, come to the startup call, and experience everything. And if after 30 days you're not 100% completely satisfied with everything, just let me know, and you can have a complete and total refund. I want you to do something with this. And if you do this and do the things that I'm telling you, you can have experienced the level of growth that I have. Now, some of you probably are scared of growth. I've been one of those myself. But you know, have that philosophy. Build it, and they will come. So I would expect that you will want to take your practice to the next level. You want to achieve that celebrity status, that expert status. Authority positioning is what we call it. So I want you to look at that, and I'm going to wrap up here because we're just a little over an hour. And at this point, I want to open it up for questions. Jason, I don't know if you're there, and I know you've been answering people's questions, but does anybody have any specific questions that they would like to ask me that in regards to these packages and some of the things that are included and what we can try and help you? And I've got a little bit of a delay here in my presentation and the chat room. So I'm waiting for you guys to catch up here with me. So anybody have any questions out there? Now, again, you can go to that website, you can sign up there, and we'd love to have you register and be a part of our team here. And I want to help you grow and take your practice to the next level. You don't have, okay, so I've got Lucy here. She has, excuse me, I don't have a tax debt practice. I have a tax audit representation practice. Should I market to CPAs, lawyers, and what does everybody think? Yes, you know, anybody who has your type of client, the types of clients that you're looking for. Lucy, that's what you want to do that. And am I showing how to do it yourself or outsource? Actually, it's a combination of both. Some of it you're going to do yourself. Some of the things are easy, such as writing a newspaper article or a blog post. That's something you can do and do yourself, even if you're not very grammatically correct. Use somebody else to help you with that aspect of it. But there are going to be other things that you're going to want to outsource, such as using other services to transcribe things. Maybe you could even use a fulfillment house for your shock and awe package and help that put together. So it's going to be a combination of things. Any other questions? Hey, Jason.
Could you give maybe, I know you probably don't have an exact breakdown, but could you give a general concept of the types of clients that you have obtained from different PR stuff that you've done? So, for example, is it all tax prep? Is it all tax resolution? Is it all bookkeeping? Or is it a variety?
No, it's actually a variety. It depends on what I'm looking for. The materials that I'm writing, right now I have a general book of getting started with business in Florida. And so, and I'm looking at, in fact, I'm looking at, Jason has a program of ghostwriting. So I'm going to be working with Jason in ghostwriting a book actually specifically toward tax resolution. And at another point in time, I'm looking at a startup book for brand new businesses and what the steps that they need to do in regards to that. I want to do something in real estate, but if I want to write an article, like I mentioned in the presentation, if I write an article on tax resolution and I'm looking for tax resolution clients, then that's what my article is going to be. If I'm looking at trying to get a real estate client, well, I'm going to have articles and things toward that. Lately, my focus has been a combination between the two of the real estate and tax resolution. But in the process, I get to do other things, like an article I wrote recently. Actually, I just submitted it today to be printed this Saturday. I was talking about payroll. So it was kind of a combination of tax resolution, talking a little bit about payroll problems, talking about penalties. But I got to tout a friend of mine and his payroll company. So that's something that's going to be interested, there as far as the various choices here. So we just got a question here from Cecily. She says, I'm interested in the Battleship package. However, due to the traveling you can't do in the next 30 days, will the webinars be offered again later? Can you sign up today but not start until 30 days from now? Cecily, the answer that I got two answers for you. One, yes, you can sign up today and get the special price, and we'll have recordings, and those will be available for the people that purchase the package. But if you don't do it today, I can't guarantee that the next time I offer this, and it will be offered at another future point in time, but I can't guarantee the next time I offer it, it's going to be at the prices that I'm offering it today. Again, against Jason's advice, my prices are pretty low. In fact, even Salim, I showed it to him, and Salim Omar suggested that both my prices be higher. But again, I'm trying to get out there, and I want to help people, and I want that. I want to help people use these various items and help them grow their practices. So hopefully that answers your question there, Cecily. Anybody else have any other questions? I see Chuck put in the chat there, and keep in mind, people, there is an option there to post a question as opposed to posting something in the chat. But Chuck said he wants to get info about the tax resolution ghost book. That'll be something, again, that we can talk about when we get into the webinars, but that's not the focus or subject of this at this point, Chuck. But you just let it know as an option. If you're interested in Jason's program with that, you can talk to him, and if he's still offering that. It's something that I've already signed up with him based on a past conference that he offered it at. Anything else? Any other things that you want to mention, Jason, or want me to talk about?
Could you just go over the contents of each of the webinars again real quick? Because I want to make sure people understand what they're getting specifically in those webinars. Because I mean that's the core of the training, right? So
well, yeah, that's the basic part here that we've got, and this is really going to be the key. We're going to talk And again, the three different parts that we're talking about are the book authorship, radio, and newspaper, magazine, trade journals. So we're going to spend the 1 hour session. We're going to talk about each one of those topics in depth. On the book authorship, again, we're going to go talking a little bit more why should you write a book? Where will you find the time to write a book? I mean, we're all stretched with time, and there are going to be things that are going to be amazing that you're going to just be floored on. If you do these things, that you can actually write a book and really have a book put together probably within 30 to 90 days if you follow what I have to tell you. We're going to show you how to get started with that, how you can use it in your practice, and try to keep you so you stay on track, because that's the big thing is you got to implement. If you don't implement, the rule is a rule of 72. If you haven't heard that, if you don't implement something within 72 hours, you're more than likely not going to do that. So I want to help you do that. The second webinar, we're going to talk about radio. Again, why should you be on the radio? Where do you begin? And trust me, I was nervous when I did it the first time, but after I did the first one, and actually even after the first few minutes of the first one, it was quite amazing how I was a little nervous, but I calmed down and I got going because, again, I know the questions, I know the answers to those questions. So we're going to talk about that, how to come up with topics, because when you're talking about something you're doing once a month or once a week, it can be a little nerve-wracking to try and come up with those things. So coming up with topics for articles, for the topic, and we're going to talk about how do you come up with your questions for that topic and how to get the best results in using the radio. And then the last one, we're going to talk about newspaper or magazine. It's they're kind of very similar, but they're slightly different medium. So why should you be in the newspaper? Why should you be in a magazine? How do you pick the magazine that you want to be in? How to get your name there? How do you even get to put the article there? How to brainstorm topics for your article? How to research those topics? You need to make sure that, excuse me, certain key facts in your article that you're gonna do. And then we're going to talk about how to achieve the best results. Now, I see a comment there by Kathleen, and she's talking about Salim Omar's courses. How different are my webinars, and how different are you? Let's see, how different is, I guess, the info from what Salim offers is basically what Kathleen is asking. Salim is currently working on a client attraction. In general, he's talking a more broad strokes, looking at a lot of different things. So when you look at this list that I had here, let me get to that slide. When you talk about these client attraction methods, Salim is talking about a lot of these various 27 items over different weeks, and he's given a lot more information on various things, again, as detailed as you can be. Mine is specifically talking on just these topics here. If you have questions on any of these 7 topics, we're specifically delving into these. These are the ones that create the celebrity status. When you look at it, a webinar and seminar, they can create, celebrity status, but not in the same way that these other things are a little more bigger exposure. And, for example, my newspaper article goes to I think it's 117,000 people in my county or in my area. And so that's a lot of people, and I can promote my book. I can promote my radio articles there. I can promote my clients. I can promote speaking engagements and things to let people know. And so that's how I build that attraction. And so, Kathleen, we're specifically talking about these topics where Salim is being a little more broad and talking about many of these 27 items. In fact, he probably is talking about 20 of those 27 items. Anything else? Any other questions? Anything else that people have been asking over the course of the last hour and almost 20 minutes, Jason?
I don't see any other questions that are in the queue here, and we're definitely over an hour. Let's just a reminder to folks that the special introductory pricing is for today only. We will be sending out a webinar replay here later this afternoon, but to take advantage of the special offers, this is after midnight tonight Eastern time, the prices are going to go up to the $497 and the $1497, and so if you order tomorrow, that's going to be the higher price point. So I encourage people to take advantage of the introductory pricing today, and don't forget, you got a 30-day money back guarantee on it. So if you're on the fence at all, just register for the course, and be on the webinars, engage in a test drive, so to speak, and don't hesitate to do that. So save yourself a few bucks by getting involved today too. Okay.
Right.
That was all the questions that were in the queue. A lot of folks are still on the line, but I don't see any other questions coming through. So let's go ahead and wrap up. And I know you've got some client work to do. I've actually got an appointment here in 40 minutes, so that I got to get ready for. So
okay. Well, I want to thank everybody for being here. Thank you, Jason, for your help in monitoring the chat bar there.
Sure.
And thank you for everybody being a part. If you have any questions, following this before the end of today, you're more than welcome to email me. My email is Dan at danhenncpa.com. That's DANHENNCPA.com. So you're more than welcome to send that. Jason just posted that to the chat bar. So you're more than welcome to email me if you have any further questions, if you're on the fence. But again, at midnight tonight, those offers are going to increase to the other prices, where the destroyer toolkit's going to be $497 and the battleship's going to go to $1497. So please decide today, and look forward to working with everybody that purchases either one of these kits. So thank you very much. Thanks, Jason. And I will talk to you guys later.